Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Albert Benehan. I'm the chair of the student and family at the same time, one of the board members of Bristol School. I'd like to welcome all the staff. Thank you for being here at the student and family. It's one of the last one of the school calendar only, school calendar. So thank you, for the staff to be here. I know you guys want to be home and me too, but I have no choice. I have to do this meeting. Online, I have Ms. Bobby Brown, what a committee. Welcome, Ms. Brown.
Welcome.
And I have Mr. Joe Suckler, a member of Bristol School. Thank you, Joe, for being here. We're gonna start in the agenda, approval of the minutes of April 28, 2022. I'd like to make a motion to accept the minute.
So moved.
I'm seconding. Any change? Any
Tia.
update?
Nope, we're set.
That, okay. So move. We approve the minute. Second line, we got, I don't know, we have principals and PDSO impact. We have principal here tonight? Nothing? No, okay. I'm gonna table for the next meeting. BYCL update. Nobody came? No, we're gonna table for the next meeting. Chess tournament, either. I'm gonna table for the next meeting. Bridgeport Young Lacrosse, either. I'm gonna table for the next meeting. My next meeting is gonna be so full. Silent show, we don't have Miss Henry tonight. No, oh, that's good. Discussion of the forming of district parent handbook. Somebody, I know that's Mr. Testani, but that's something he sent staff or somebody. No, we keep moving. Number 8, special education advisory council. Russia, yeah.
So,
Thank you, Russia.
sure, of course. So it was brought to the superintendent from one of the special education supervisors, the idea of putting together a parent advisory group. Actually, two things happened simultaneously. It was brought to the superintendent, the idea of putting together a advisory group of parents that can help support and provide feedback to.
Okay, just 1 second. I have one of the committee, Ms. Erica. In life.
For her summer program.
Hello, Ms. Castillo. Hello, Ms. Castillo.
I gotta say, I'm frustrated.
We are live. We start the meeting. Welcome.
Open the other entrance for a student who's waiting over there to enter the building to pay her fees for the summer. So I'll be back.
Okay. All right. All right, that's
And then at the same time, a parent reached out actually to both Lynn and I with a suggestion to do a workshop for parents around special education so that parents are more aware of the special education process, the rights of parents through the process. And so kind of, we're talking about how we could possibly put together a parent group that could do that for us. And then I was thinking maybe with the district PAC, because that is already something that's going to be established, maybe through that, it could be a component of the district PAC that can just give some feedback about, how we can better support parents, what their experience has been like through the special education process. And then we can just make sure that as a district and through the special education department, we are doing everything we can to support students and families.
when we have the district PAC years back, we have a special person, special education. He's in charge for everything about special need. He spoke with whoever said director, let's say he had to talk, Mr. Giving information, updates, stuff like that, and then he bring it to the meeting, or any parent have any concerns, stuff like that. And the district PAC we had in that is Mr. Ingeresto.
Okay.
And Ingeresto was in charge for that. That's his passion.
Yeah.
So you know that, yeah, it's his passion for years. So it's a great idea. I would love to, because a lot of parents need to know the right.
Right.
Need to know, what is the process, the policy, the law, stuff like that. So need to be in a lot of update, because sometimes policy, something change.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was great.
Yeah, so just wanted to make that suggestion, maybe incorporating it into
Yeah.
your district pack. And then we can, make sure that we're doing the best we can to support families.
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay.
You have any question, Ms. Brown?
No questions. I think it's a really good idea. And I think, as we start moving into the new school year and we start identifying students that need the support as well as parents, I think they can definitely benefit from any support that we can find.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Any question, Mr. Jones?
No, I think it's a great idea. The more parents we can have get involved, the better. And I noticed sometimes with special ed and one of the, what's the biggest schools? The Skane school really doesn't have a very active pack. And
I was
that
in
would be-
I was in the graduation over there. Yeah.
and it would be great because just as entitled to representation as everybody else, and maybe even more important for their parents to advocate than our
Yep.
general education.
Great,
Sound good. We're gonna put it in an agenda when we start the district pack, so
perfect,
be part of that. We would love to. Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Any question, Ms. Lynn?
No, thank you.
Let's let the record, Ms. Erika Castillo. She's the committee of the student and family. Welcome, Ms. Castillo.
Thank you.
Ms. Castillo, we in the number 8 in the agenda. Ms. Osha, she was talking about the Special Education Advisory Council. It's like at the district pack, so we had somebody from a special need in charge there. Years back, we have that.
Yep.
That somebody was in charge for the special need. They spoke with the special need department or any parents have any issue, something like that. They will go exactly to that person. And that person for years, by what Mr. Ingeresto. Ingeresto, that's his passion, that he always take care and listen all anything about special need. And then he come from the district back and then he come to the whoever's the director in the department, let them know about the policy, the law, or what is the problem or what the need, stuff like that. So Ms. Rocha, she will tell us a little information about that.
Okay,
You have any question?
not at this time.
All right, we go on number 9 in the agenda, student grade report, promotion and rotation. I believe that was Mr. Plana, but he's not here today. So we're gonna table. We got number 10, comprehensive bullying report, including the number, substantiated and upstated. I believe that's Mr. Young, right?
Mhm.
Right, Mr. Young.
PowerPoint.
Your floor is yours.
Yeah, the school climate report.
Okay.
That's it. We'll go to the first slide. First slide is, sure. Thank you. Bigger. Just a second. Okay, so this, the first slide is substantiated bully cases. I spelled bully wrong. Did I? I can't see.
Yeah.
All right, substantiated bully cases across the district. There were 12 schools that reported substantiated bully cases. That means cases that were investigated and the students were proven to be guilty of bullying. Those, as always, those names go to the state. So it's really important for us to flesh out that investigation to ensure that if these kids' names are going to the state, that it's really truly substantiated cases of bullying. And Harding and Dunbar had the most thoroughly investigated cases. The number of cases are 25 for the 2021 and 22 school year. Questions on that?
Oh, well, hold on, sorry. So, Mr.
Or
Judge,
the-
Ms. Brown, do you have any question about the presentation, first page?
No, I do have a comment to this. I don't know if this is the right time to do it. There's a school that I believe that is not mentioned here that was brought up at our regular board meeting concerning bullying. I'm not sure if the board remembers. Yeah, and I know that, we're tasked with calculating those that are considered actual bullying incidents. So maybe just for the record, when we get to that section is to really talk about how are those cases that are not handled as as making it to the bully sheet or bully form, because it was very disturbing at our board meeting to hear not only students but parents complaining of incidents that were, they're individualized, but it also makes me think, what are our students not coming forth and saying what's happening, and how do we handle that as well? Because even though, there weren't a lot of people at last meeting, the regular board meeting, it really sent a loud message about this situation. So I hope that, I know that you guys are doing all that you can, but I hope that that particular school does get addressed, with whether it's an individual issue or not, via tracking. But yeah, that's just my thought on it.
Yeah, I know what school you're talking about. I'm gonna let them know Mr. John later what school, so he can do investigation for that.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Castillo, you have any question?
No, not at this time.
Mr. John?
I got some questions and comments. You said the two schools have, the two highest ones, what were they again?
Yes, Harding does a thorough job of investigating, as well as Dunbar.
Dunbar, okay, so yeah, I got to take my hats off to them for their reporting, because it's hard to tell people sometimes that something's wrong in your building, but you're not gonna get help unless you raise it up.
Correct.
What kind of supports do they get when you see this number of
High
incidents?
rates of bullying. So when we see that, we do professional development for that school. And we also do the reverse. When we don't see schools that are on there, when we hear things like what Ms. Brown was talking about, we also do the reverse. We provide professional development for them as well. We talked about an idea of our first meeting back with the principals. We do a professional development on bullying, because sometimes we lose sight of what it is. And so getting that refresher in the beginning might be a positive thing to do.
And how many, what's the largest schools with 0 instances of bullying?
That would be Battalion Bassick.
Italian and Bassick, so. There's two things. Is it important to say this properly? Give me a second to frame it in my head. Are we to believe that everything is absolutely running perfectly at these schools and no children are having any issues? Or on the other hand, children having issues and basically being tortured and not telling anybody, bullying continuing without it being reported? And that's a school with 0 is much more concerning to me than a school with high incidence of bullying that's being addressed. Because that means we've got children being hurt throughout their school years. Because if it's let go in 9th grade, same kids are gonna be bullied in the 10th grade, and they're gonna be bullied in 11th grade, and they're gonna have a whole horrible high school career. And you said you got the professional development on this, but I think maybe we need some sort of anonymous reporting system if we could get one off the ground that could be feasible. But I don't know. It's like it just so scares me every year to see 0 coming out of some of these large schools, because I can't see that as a reality, no matter how good a social school climate environment is, to have 0, especially in a larger school. Maybe a school with maybe 200 kids or whatever have you. Yes, the school 5, 6, 1,000. It just does not seem to be reality. And what would happen if we found out, just hypothetically, that a student reported something and then it wasn't kicked up the chain?
Well, that's really concerning. That could be a big issue, depending on what happens with the student, depending on how it was reported, depending on what actions were taken after it was reported, depending on whether or not those actions were, anything was done with those actions. All of those issues would be a problem, a huge problem.
So,
It's like, reporting some incidents of bullying can be a legal situation. That's
yeah.
legal.
So I'm a 4th grader. I told my teacher, for instance, God forbid this hopefully never happened. It's just a scenario out of nowhere. I reported to my teacher that I got hit. The next day I reported to my teacher that I got punched. See nothing happening. Bully sees me talking to my teacher, so you tell again, boom. Because that's what bullies do. They threaten you for telling. And that teacher never brings it to the principal. And then the kid gets somebody else to stand up for him and they all go to the principal. We told the teacher 3 times. Is there any disciplinary track?
Principal should take action with the teacher in that situation. That would be the principal taking action, bringing the teacher in, talking about the policy. Maybe if it's really egregious, writing them up. Those are progressive discipline things that they should be doing if they have it.
And what kind of exposure would they have for mandated reporter? Because that's
I do.
also getting in trouble there as well. Right?
Mandated reporting would be a different thing. Mandated reporting would be if the teacher, if the kid was being abused by an adult and the teacher found out about that, their duty is to call it in. So student on student, it's not like a really mandated reporting situation. But I can see how you can think that.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just very concerning, and I think maybe part of the professional development should be. Me, I'm consequence driven. If I know there's a possible potential consequence to my inaction, because nobody wants to report something bad.
Right.
I mean, you don't want trouble. I mean, but these are kids' lives. You don't want something looking bad, but it's not. It doesn't look bad. These 2 schools that did the reporting, Harding and what's the other one? Like I said,
Harding and Dunbar. But the reporting.
Hats off. Sad that kids are getting bullied. But it's being reported and it's being dealt with, and these kids and the parents and the schools are getting the help they need. And if there's anybody out there that's not reporting anything, shame on them.
And I always say if a kid is getting reported for that, it's better to know that that kid is getting help than the kids that are suffering in silence. So
absolutely. I hope that wasn't too harsh.
The next page is the bully allegations page.
Before you keep going, please, I've had some comment. It's true, like Mr. Joe Sokol say. See, this big school, they don't have no bullying, it's very delicate. Something like you said, bullying is not something, oh, he touched me, oh, he told me one word, but that's the way they start. Mm-hmm. And like Mr. Joe Sokol said, if you don't stop in that moment, or the teacher don't make action in that moment, and then you come a second time, the student come, that's the way what we don't want. Parents show up. Because you know how the parent, when they say bullying, and it's something terrible. I don't know if you know the situation happened. The boy, the 9 years old, passed away. One of the different school, and he was bullying, and he was listening to some cartoon, something in the website on YouTube about cartoons like a monster. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know what happened. That he was feel like they was bullying him, and then that little monster, it was listen. He was listening more that monster what he had to do, and he hung out himself.
Wow.
So that's why when they said the teachers heard the word bullying, please make an action right away. Because it's the law, and we don't want that. Either we don't want parents come. Sometimes we got parents that great. Sometimes we got parents that hurricane.
Right.
That. So we have to be a little more on the top, especially when you see this big school has zero no bullying. We have to be careful with that.
We do, definitely.
Yeah, you can keep going, Miss.
Okay. So bully allegations, there were 121 for the 2021-22 school year. There were 27 schools reported altogether, 5 high schools and 22 elementary schools. The school that reported the most allegations would be Johnson and Thomas Hooker School.
Wow.
Any questions on that? So these are the not substantiated cases, but kids or parents or teachers reporting that a student was being bullied.
Okay. Is the part that teachers make a report.
Right, or a student themselves, or.
I'm even shocked that Johnson School, and as a nice neighborhood school, 19.
Well, we have some suburban towns that have bullying.
I can say 19, but when they got high schools, but
True.
Elementary school, 19. Wow.
Yeah.
What types of measures are taken at the schools to mitigate those types of numbers?
So we do a number of different things. So we do the anti-bully month when it comes up. We also have a grant that we give each school that comes up with bully related activities that they can fund for themselves. Some people came up with like I forget what it's called, the bench. They painted it orange, where if a kid needed a friend, they would sit on the bench and
buddy bench.
Buddy bench. There you go. Other schools did pep rallies, and other schools did bringing parents for PDs. We do provide some PDs if schools ask for it as well. I did one at Hooker. That's probably why the numbers are up. And I talked to the staff about what to look for, those type of things. So there's funding. There's a lot of anti-bully things going on everywhere.
I can just jump into that I oversee the restorative practices facilitators, and they work at 11 schools in the district to really promote positive culture, but also to repair harm between students when harm has been done, or between staff and students as well, or staff and staff. So that's something that we're talking about. We have training for administrators at the beginning of the school year for all administrators and for all schools to improve or increase, I should say, restorative practices across the district.
Great.
You have any question, Ms. Brown?
No questions.
Mr. Joe Sagler, you have any question about
I
that?
believe my last questions covered this.
The next one is the breakdown of race and ethnicity. So as you know, that we are a Black and Brown community where the majority of our students are African-American or of Hispanic background. I broke it down and there were schools that reported. There were 11 Hispanic students that were reported for substantiated bully cases and 14 African-American students. I thought that was interesting, so I pulled the racial breakdown in the city. There's 29.8 African-American students altogether in the total population, and there's 56.25 Hispanic students. So there is a larger population of African-American students that are being labeled or being classified as being the substantiated bully cases. So I want to look at that as a district to see why that is. If that's an outlier, I want to go back to see the historical data on that because I just saw that glaring thing today to see if that's a practice that has gone on throughout. And then maybe there needs to be some kind of professional development on what bullying actually is or why this is happening. I just want to delve deeper into that number to see why.
Any question, Ms. Castillo? No. Ms. Brown, you have any question?
No questions.
Mr. Joe, you have any question?
Yeah. This is the identity, excuse me, the identity of the bullies in here, correct? Do we have any identity of the bullied?
We don't. That's an interesting question. I got to figure out how we can start to pull that information.
Yeah, because it may be useful to see who's bullying. If it's same race bullying, extra, there might be different ways to address those incidences.
It's probably because the bully themselves, it's a confidential thing, probably why, but I can see how we can do that where we're not breaking confidentiality with them because they do have some privacy issues when they're the victim of bullying or survivors of bullying. I'm sorry, we don't use victim. Survivors of bullying.
Survivors of bullying.
Yes.
Try to do better next time. Yeah, that would be an interesting data point to try to sort of remedies. And as far as, is there any schools that particularly stand out as far as
having the most
disparity in the number of African-American instances of bullying?
There is, I don't know.
Yeah, we don't have to pull it. Let's just be aware of it because that might not only need professional development in bullying training, but also some other sort of
implicit bias.
Cultural training.
Cultural awareness.
And that would be beneficial for all our principals. I know we've done it for some of us board members say and took it. It might be beneficial for some staff to take it as well, but I don't know how you target that.
Right, but it's a great concept. I'm looking at the numbers and what you just said is correct. So yes, that'll be good to look into.
Thank you.
And so the last slide is comparison. And I didn't put the comparison. I went back after I was reading it over. I went back to the 2020 school year. So that would be 1920, and that was before COVID. Because I wanted to see why there was a big drop in numbers, but that 6 was because of COVID. So I went back to 2020 and there was 35 cases of substantiated bullying in that year and 142 cases of allegations in that year prior to the pandemic. So the 6 and the 39 were during the pandemic, and then we're back to the numbers of 2022, 25 and 121 this school year.
What were the numbers for the previous year?
So 2020, it was 35.
Yep.
6 and then 25. So 35, 35, and then 142.
So how many substantiated cases
35,
and allegations?
142.
Okay.
You have any question, Ms. Brown?
No questions. I just would suggest that we add, I know that you mentioned 2019, 2020. I mean, 2020. I think that we should just add that to this list for
I can
anyone
reset that.
that may be watching.
I can even go back to the year prior to that to see if there's
Yeah.
patterns. So I can
Okay.
send that to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any question, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, it would be interesting to look at 2019, 2020, because I don't know if you recall the last time we brought up that 0 instances in these large schools are unacceptable. I can't recall what year that was, but seeing as they were higher the year before, that's probably capturing some of the importance we placed on that, the emphasis that we placed that it's really unacceptable for a school to have 0 when it's so large that it's unbelievable. I mean, because the board as a whole made a big stink on it and brought a lot of pressure to bear during that year. And then the following year, if I remember correctly, there were no schools with 0
Right.
instances. I'm remembering correctly?
You are. And I think that was in 2017, 2018, and then 2018, 2019, that's when Albert came after me. No, I'm kidding. Albert, he brought it to the attention.
This is the last meeting.
He brought it to the forefront and the attention, and then we started to look at it. And that year, we did have a spike in where all schools were looking at it, they were vigilant on that topic. So that's why that year rose.
And I think there might be like, sort of like the kids got a summer slide. I think maybe some staff might be experiencing a COVID slide. And we got to get back into the groove of getting those reports and stuff done. And it also could be because we got a lot more supports right now as well. That could be affecting the numbers, because we do have more supports than we ever had
We do.
in a long time. So
Ms. Brown, you have something to say?
Mr. Benahan, is okay if I have one
Yes,
time?
of course. Yes.
So I know that, and I'm sorry if I missed it. My question is, and I know we talked about this in previous meetings, how are we handling the individualized, like I know we're doing more stuff for the schools, like the bench and all those things to give students an opportunity to feel like not, isolated or whatever the case may be when they're dealing with this. But I'm very interested on what is the plan for our students individually when it comes to dealing with bullying. Like how much of it is a straight follow through? How much of it is parent mediation with the students' parents? I'm very interested because I have received a lot of calls about this, and it's still concerning to me. And I want to know, like, is what we're doing working? Or, like I said, we do have a lot of resources that are, that have come this year, but like, is there a need for us to go back to, Mr. Testani, go back to the board and say, we need more? Because I'm nervous about this, individual cases that are being addressed, but is there a complete follow through for the student? Does that make sense? I'm sorry, I said a whole lot right there.
Yes, so we're speaking of an individual case. So if that's an individual case, I can we can talk about that and I can get on that. But overarching, the way it works is that once the kid is identified, we put a lot of services in that one kid so that we can prevent catastrophic things from happening. So that particular case, I don't know which you guys are alluding to, but I can dive in and take over that case and see what's going on with that particular case. Because it sounds really concerning the way
Yes.
you guys are talking about it.
The parent to the board of education school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we want, when parents come to the board and talk to, I want the parent to understand we're gonna follow. I don't want parents to look like we ignore them. So they can know we follow, and then you contact the parents.
Absolutely.
And then,
I didn't know
that's
that.
the way it is. Yeah.
And just not for that case, but just, just making sure that, we keep it very transparent on what the process is for the parent. So the parent is aware, they don't feel like nothing is being done, that they understand like there's a process to this. And, if there is a sense of urgency, I definitely believe the district will take the necessary steps to do that. But I think them not knowing or it's not being translated. I say that often because sometimes, you may address a parent and they are hearing one thing, but not fully understanding exactly what you're saying as far as process is concerned. So maybe that could be it. But I just don't want it to be where yet again we're in this place and they're feeling like they're not being heard or it's not being addressed. And that can go for any parent within the district.
I do want to say one thing about managing expectations too, though. When things are being investigated, and when there's like an outcome, sometimes you can't tell what we've done with the person that has perpetrated the incident because they do have rights as well. So everybody has confidentiality rights. So sometimes a parent would feel nothing happened to the kid or I'm feeling ignored, but we are doing things. So we have to find a creative way to let them know, parents know that we did work on it. There was a consequence, but we really can't tell you what we actually did with that kid. You know what I mean?
No, we understand. I just want a parent to understand that we're here for them. We're gonna try to help them. I don't want to feel ignored. They come to the board of education to speak, they talk, and we don't care. I don't want that. I want the parent to understand we follow what you
Absolutely.
say. Yes, Ms. Brown?
Yes, yep, that makes absolute sense. I think it's the big communication point of it. And I totally understand, like, we don't want to, invade anyone's privacy when dealing with this situation. But I definitely think there is somewhere a lack of understanding or communication on as to what that looks like for every individual case, so that whatever the process is, it is clear to the parent, it's clear to the kid, to the child, and then it's clear to the district overall. And I know that this is probably beating the same drum all the time because we are saying and are being proactive, but I feel like when a parent comes with the major concern for their child, they are in alarm, they are upset or whatever the case may be. So maybe process went out the door, but making sure that we still reiterate and still make sure that it's clear to them, this is something that's going to take time or there's a process for it. That's all I wanted to make sure.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Do you have any more questions, Mr. Joe?
No, sir.
Ms. Castillo?
No.
All right, thank you. John, thank you so much for your time and all the information. Next in the agenda is number 11, is the presentation of the Wellness Committee Annual Report and Local School Wellness Policy Triennial Assessment. That's the guy. Come in the front, please. So I'm going to put 11 and 12 because I know the 12, the other one, discussion and possible action for approve updated district wellness policy. So when you finish that one, you can jump in the other one.
So,
Thank you for being here. Welcome.
good evening, board members, administrators. Food and Nutrition Department is here tonight to present annual report on wellness policy for the district, as well as a triennial assessment that was undertaken over the past few months. And we wanted to, I want to introduce Dawn Postolowski. Dawn works for the Nutrition Center and she was the point person on this project. And we work with principals and administrators in the district to renew our policy. So tonight we're going to present a slideshow.
Hi, thanks for having us. So we're gonna first go over briefly the Wellness Committee Annual Report. So
You have the,
we're gonna pass it down, sorry.
let it go, let it go. I know you like it.
Apologies,
Go.
Charlie.
It was fun.
You could click if you want. So just first, I wanted to put up all of our wellness committee members. Without their help throughout this year, we wouldn't have been able to put together either our wellness annual report or the triennial report, which will be the second part of the presentation. So I just wanted to give them some recognition and say thank you to all of them for all of their resources and help and letting me ask them all sorts of fun questions so that we could gather all of this up. So for the local wellness policy overview, just a brief overview. I'm not going to read everything on here. So because of the Child Nutrition and WIC Reauthorization Act of 2004, it requires that each local education agency or school district participating in the National School Lunch or School Breakfast Program develop a local wellness policy. It is to promote health of students and address the growing problem of childhood obesity. And as per this legislation, wellness policy at a minimum
must address and establish goals for nutrition education, physical activity, and other school-based activities that are designed to promote student wellness, nutrition guidelines for all foods available on each school campus throughout the day while promoting student health, implementation measurements, including designation of one or more persons within the local education agency or school charged with the operational responsibility for ensuring that the school meets the local wellness policy, which just means if we have a wellness policy, somebody is supposed to make sure that that's being enforced, and that we involve parents, students, and representatives of the school food authority, the school board, administrators, and the public that are going to be involved in the development and updating of the policy. So the school nutrition and physical activity policy requires an annual progress report to the superintendent and the board. Therefore, we're here to present to you, and we're going to be evaluating the implementation of the policy and all of its regulations. And I think that the Wellness Committee, I think, Carly, you can even attest, we're very proud of what we were able to accomplish even with the ongoing pandemic this year. I would have technical difficulties.
Sam, they don't want to change. Okay. Whatever you have, we have in the.
Yeah, I made copies too.
So we have it in the
Wants
tablet.
paper. Okay,
We have it in
so,
the tablet. You keep going.
all right, John's in charge of clicking. So, so I'm just going to go over a couple of the things that our wellness committee reviewed this year. Is the district commitment to nutrition and wellness through CEP. So Bridgeport Public Schools recognizes the multiple health and academic benefits that eating nutritious meals provides students, and that school meals play a critical role in meeting students' nutritional needs. In the 21-22 school year, Bridgeport Public Schools continue to serve free meals to all students via the community eligibility provision. This is a USDA's community eligibility provision, provides nutritious breakfast and lunch to all students at no cost to families, students, or the board. This is a federally funded program, and it gives us a higher reimbursement rate, eliminates the stigma of free or reduced meal prices, and increases participation, eliminates meal debt, and streamlines the process for parents and staff, enabling all students in these schools to receive free nutritious meals throughout the year. The CACFP at-risk supper program, there's criteria under the USDA for an at-risk after-school care center. In our instance, it would be Lighthouse and other programs like that. These are identified as after-school at-risk programs that have regularly scheduled activities for enrichment, education, and has 50% or more of its students eligible for free or reduced price meals. So on the next slide, we're going to see that the sites that participated in the 21-22 school year, and we're going to continue to be offering these CACFP at-risk after-school meals at no cost to students, families, the Food Nutrition Services Department, or the Board of Education. So this current school year, we had 27 schools that participated. And as we identify more programs, we'd like to expand it throughout more schools. The Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program grant was offered at 28, or was awarded to 28 schools this 21-22 school year. The U.S. Department of Agriculture provides all children in participating schools with a variety of free fresh fruits and vegetables, and we try to give them fresh fruits and vegetables every single day as much as we can throughout that grant. And it also includes community partnerships. So the next slide is the 28 sites that were awarded in the 21-22 school year, and it totaled out to $899,262 worth of grant funding that we're able to utilize that. And every year we do apply for any of the schools that are eligible. It's just all about what we are awarded through the state.
Hold on 1 second.
Oh, yep, no problem.
That, back,
Fresh fruit and vegetable?
what is the amount of the money? Yep.
Yep.
Does it mean each school?
It's broken down by school here, and then all together, yes, it's the total on the bottom is the $899,000 throughout the district that
So
we got in
the
total.
funds, Mr. Benahan, for Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program are awarded to the district based on an application process. So the grant comes from USDA to the state of Connecticut, and depending on how many districts apply for the limited amount of money is how, and then the amount that each school is awarded is based on the previous year's enrollment.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
So Bridgeport Public Schools voluntarily participates in healthy food certification. Healthy food certification, Connecticut's standards in particular exceed the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Smart Snack nutrition standards. And by complying with healthy food certification, our district commits to all competitive foods during the school day meet these standards. And they're, again, higher than the U.S. Department of Education's. So it focuses on moderating portion sizes, eliminating trans fat, and increasing the consumption of more nutrient-rich foods. Connecticut nutrition standards are based on current nutrition science and national health recommendations from the 2020 to 25 dietary guidelines for Americans and national health organizations such as the National Academy of Sciences Institute of Medicine. We also, as a district, participate in summer feeding throughout the months of June, July, and August of 2021. 26 schools and 27 community feeding sites provided free breakfast and lunch programs throughout the summer food service program to all children ages 18 and under in the district. Over the course of 39 service days, we were able to serve 181,415 breakfast and lunches at no charge to students and children 18 years and under. As summer is a time of food insecurity for many, the Food and Nutrition Department works closely with the Office of the Superintendent to ensure that all BPS families were aware of the availability of summer feeding programs. We were able to utilize USDA waivers last school year to offer grab-and-go non-congregate feeding so parents could do pickups. While those waivers do expire, we won't be able to utilize those this summer. We're still working very hard with some community partnerships, as well as, again, the Office of the Superintendent to get as much word out about our summer feeding program for this summer as well. At this time, we're looking at approximately 60 sites total for this summer over the course of approximately 24 service days. Some sites have more service days, some have a little bit less depending on, and that's community sites as well as school sites altogether. And then we also have resources for parents and teachers. So far, we have our wellness policy posted. Once we present this evening our triennial assessment, that will go up. And then part of our wellness committee goals for next year is to work together to get some more resources up for parents and families and even for teachers. So again, our initiatives for 2022-23 are to increase and strengthen community partnerships, develop a 3-year strategic plan that includes the identified opportunities for improvement from the local school wellness policy triennial assessment summary. And that's just our annual report. So that ends our annual report. So I don't know if anybody has questions on that or if you'd like me to go into the triennial assessment.
Do you have any question, Ms. Brown?
No questions.
Ms. Castillo, you have any question?
No.
Mr. Joe?
No, sir.
All set.
So the triennial assessment, it's the same slideshow. Sorry, Sam. I tried to truncate it, sorry. So really quickly before it pops back up, basically the local school wellness policy triennial assessment is federally required that we do this. And this is the first year that it's actually required that it be posted to our website, and then we must notify our contact at Connecticut State Department of Education. So we wanted to just present that here to you as a board first before we put that out into the public, because we do make it public to everybody afterwards. So this, again, I wanted to thank all of the committee members for our wellness committee, because without them, I wouldn't have been able to put together all of this information, and their knowledge across the district was very, very helpful. So the U.S. Department of Agriculture oversees this national school lunch program in public schools, and it requires this triennial assessment. We performed this assessment utilizing the WellSat, which is a quantitative assessment tool developed by the University of Connecticut Red Center for Food Policy and Obesity. So basically, they compare our policy to a model policy, and it helps us to identify our strengths, our areas for growth, and to impact our plans for improving our wellness policy. And it goes over these 6 components of a policy. So the next slide is just an overview of our WellSat score. Again, this is the quantitative scoring that we utilized from the Red Center, and it breaks it down between our 6 different areas of the policy. So the summary of findings goes into 4 categories, which is that we have strong policies and aligned practices. So basically what we're doing really well in writing and in implementation. Create practice implementation plan, which just means that our policy needs a little tweaking, but we're actually implementing the actual policy, just don't have it in writing necessarily the way it needs to be. The cute little notebook is that we need to update our policies to be a little stronger. And then the last is opportunities for growth. So I'm not going to read every single one of our strong policies and practices, but just overall, we're doing fairly well, especially considering with the COVID-19 pandemic, it was not really easy to implement a lot of things. So we're doing really well with our nutrition education, our standards for USDA, child nutrition programs and school meals. We try to meet all of our requirements for trainings and offerings to students and all of their nutrient needs. Our nutrition standards for competitive food. We participate in healthy food certification, so that's quite helpful to that. And we word it pretty strongly in our policy. For physical education and physical activity, I was able to speak to a lot of administrators and or teachers that helped out with this. And it seems that we're doing really, really well with that district-wide. I thought it was really nice also to hear that like elementary students are getting 20 minutes of recess, on a full school day, which is really important to them to get physical activity and get moving. And I heard a lot of good anecdotal stories of teachers like really implementing a lot of movement breaks in the classroom and stuff. And if we can just get that kind of across the board, I think we're going to be really good on that too. We don't market for food or beverages throughout the school day or on any sort of materials for education. So that was really great. Creating practice and implementation plans. A lot of this is just like we need to just tweak some of the language in our wellness policy, which is the next part of this. So I've kind of already done that as like a draft so that everybody can kind of see this is where it came from. So that's why we need to tweak just little wordings here and there. And again, like with the physical education and physical activity, a lot of what I heard too is a lot of that curriculum is being updated already throughout the district, especially with now that COVID's over, they can actually start getting back to normal. So hopefully we'll be able to kind of up our scores in the next triennial assessment for that. And again, for the implementation, evaluation, and communication, a lot of that is just tweaking the wording a little bit in our policy, which I have in the draft policy to go over next. And then update policy section, all of the things listed here, a lot of it is like they want exact verbiage with links that go directly to USDA language that maybe didn't necessarily exist when the policy was originally written and ratified. So I've gone in and put that in the draft. So then once if that's approved, we should be fine with all of that. And yeah, that's all of the updating of policies. That's all we have to do there. And then the opportunities for growth, all of the things listed here are going to be items that next year when we meet as a district wellness committee, we're going to try to utilize all of these to work on our 3-year plan prior to our next triennial assessment. So all of our wellness goals will be on this. So like nutrition education, a lot of that is just developing language and working with the district's curriculum to make sure that we're all in alignment with one another. We're aware of the farm to school program. We don't have language for that in our policy, but actually right now we're working with Put Local on Your Tray to try to work towards being able to try to get more farm to school in some of our schools. Same for physical education. We just have to like kind of iron out what happens because we have such a variety of what happens across the 5 different high schools. And same for wellness promotion marketing. I just want to enhance our already existing strategies. I know I spoke with like Carly on trying to get like more like staff wellness as well as a part of some of the really wonderful things that she puts out to the district. And that's kind of it, my triennial assessment report. Sorry, I know it's a lot.
Yeah.
No worries.
Ms. Castillo, Ms. Castillo, you have any question?
No, thank you so much for the presentation. That was excellent.
Thank you.
Ms. Brown, do you have any question?
No questions. This was really good. Thank you.
Sure.
Is there any specific verbiage you need to get this approved as in the?
That would be the item 12 agenda. What I did was, I don't know if you have a copy because I did print out copies if you need it, but anything that was going to be a draft, I just highlighted in yellow. Like this is just, they have to add the word daily opportunity, and or at least once quarterly instead of 4 times a year, things like that.
But that's when we do the healthy food certification and.
No, we don't need anything in particular. There's no direct verbiage. No. This is more of a presentation typically annually, we do an annual wellness committee report to the board. This year just happens to kind of get double whammied because we have our triennial assessment at the same time.
So you're just seeking approval to get it on the full agenda, to be approved by the full board, to get on the website?
Technically, we don't need board approval to put it on the website. We just wanted to make sure that the board and committee and everybody's aware of what it is and what it means. The only thing that we need possible action on is the updating of the district wellness policy. And that's just the little changes I had to make throughout it based on what we learned from our assessment.
Okay. So make a motion to, what, to bring it to the,
Hey, you want to present this to the full board as well, right?
I mean, if possible,
Right.
I'm sure that they.
Is it how time sensitive?
Riveting.
We're done for the year.
No, it's not time sensitive. Like I said, I don't need the board's approval necessarily to put this triennial assessment on our site. I just have to have it on our website by a certain date for public view. And then as far as the policy, it doesn't have to be updated by then. It's like a living document. Every year, we're probably going to come back with some things that we'd like to change based on what we.
it's better to bring it to the board, so the board that can prove it and you can have it.
Yeah.
In the website.
Yeah.
So basically a motion to bring it to the full board for them to do this presentation.
I just like to make a motion to present, Winelet, what are your last name?
Postalowski.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
that one.
To bring it to the full boards for make a motion to be sure, be in a website, right?
The full board would be the changes to the district wellness policy based on it. Apologies for.
That's okay. Make a motion for that.
So moved.
So,
Oh, second.
from Ms. Castillo, second from Ms. Brown. Oh, you have all set. And they have all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any objection, any comments? We'll have it. Thank you. And let me have a copy of that.
Yeah, whatever you need. I made copies of everything.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just want to shout out Food and Nutrition for always being on point for the summer. Anytime we have a break, just making sure that there is an option for students and families to receive food throughout the year. Because we already know our city can, maybe in different areas be a food desert. So I really appreciate the efforts that you guys put together, even just the social media posts, just reminding parents that if you feel that this is your situation, you're more than welcome to visit one of the schools. So shout out to you guys for always being prepared when this time of the year comes, and even on the April breaks and spring breaks and things like that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ms. Brown. Thank you so much for everything you guys do,
Thank you for having us.
Do that. Thank you. So before we're done, I would like to say thank you for all my, my staff, everyone always come here. I have to say thank you, Sam, Joe, John, always here. Thank you for Ms. Rocha, Ms. Lynn. Ms. always come to my meeting. Thank you for my committee, Ms. Castillo, Ms. Brown, Joe, you always here. I appreciate that. I know today is the last, today only, we keep going. About school calendar, and then the next one, when we come back, we're going to have another meeting. We had another table. So we're going to keep going. Thank you so much for everyone. Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
First, Ms. Castillo, second, Ms. Brown. Thank you so much, everyone. God bless you. Be safe.
Thank you. I'm gonna run to the bathroom before this.
Yeah.
Mr. John, do I just join another